It's your brother from another mother that you really got no other. AB.Marley here.
And it's your girl Nevaeh, your sister from another mister, because you know
Papa was a rolling stone. Good evening, everybody.
It is a Tuesday.
Happy Talk Tuesday.
Let's
talk about it.
Talk about it. One of these days, I'm gonna pop up on what's tacos. Alright, guys, so this is a part 2 of our fathers not being in their child's life.
Absent
fathers.
Pretty much. Yes. Part 2.
Alright, guys, so today we are going to talk about fathers having rights to
their children. So, I guess what we really want to touch upon is the basis where people feel like fathers are not acceptable to raising a child by themselves. People feel like, I'm not saying everybody, there's
only 35% of the fathers who have went to court to try to get custody of their children, only one, which means that 65% of the fathers who went to court to get custody battle, that did custody battles with the mothers, lost. In the state of Illinois alone, only 23% of the fathers who tried to get custody of their children got it. Which means that only 77%, which means that only 77% of the fathers who applied lost. That's a very high percentage.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's like the mindset. I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy where, and I'm saying this could be for both parties, but I'm really just talking about how people can be petty with their children and use that against the other parent to get what they want out of them or to get payback.
Right.
And with that, it's just unfortunate. Like, for example, the father could be a great human being and he's actually doing his part to take care of his children, actually making time for them, making sure they learn something from him, so on and so forth. But then you can have a mother who says, well, he hit me, or he's hit the children before, or something in a negative sense, where she could be using any means to make sure the court sides with her to where she can get the children, and there could be like a second stage to that where she can get financial stability from that person, and this is her way of getting payback. Oh, you don't give my kid these new shoes? Well, then you don't get to see your child.
It's kind of like extortion in a way.
Yes, well, I mean, it really is. It's just the laws backing it up.
It does not take just a woman to make a baby. It takes a man to make a baby.
It takes two to tango at the end of the day.
Right. So for you women who always want to be like, well, he got me pregnant. He did this. It's his fault why I'm like this. It's his fault why I got this baby. No, it's not. It's not his fault. It's your fault too. Because guess what? He didn't do it by himself.
No, of course not. I mean,
you did it with him. You willingly did it.
You gave consent.
And for those of you who are people who got pregnant and you were raped, I'm sorry. I am deeply sorry for you. But for the women who willingly gave consent and you knew what you were doing, you knew that it was a 50% chance that you would either get pregnant or not if you are not using contraceptives, which would be condoms and or birth control. You know what can happen. So don't try to sit here and try to place the blame on men as if it is their fault that this has happened and you are a victim. You are not a victim. Because at the end of the day, there are options that you have if you don't want that baby. Obviously, you could do adoption, whether it be open or whether it is closed. Open, which means you still can see the child and the child knows that you exist and they do know that you are their parent. And that's okay. Closed basically means that you give up all the rights to your child, and whoever adopts a child, it's up to them whether they want to tell them or not and keep you in the picture. You could always give the baby to a family member, whether it be your family or the child's family. You could give the baby to the father of the child. Yeah. And last but not least, something that I really don't condone, you could always abort it if you feel that it is necessary. Every situation is different, obviously, even if it comes to finances, but even if you financially can't support a child, you can always give it up for adoption.
Yep, she is right. There are different options you can do, but the first thing that you have to do is accept the responsibility of the actions of both parties.
Yes.
And also making sure that you guys decide on what you wish to do with the child at the end of the day. And the final thing is, don't be petty.
Oh, yes, indeed. Women, yes, y'all. Hi, I'm talking to y'all again. Do not try to force a man to pay child support for a child that, especially if he told you he does not want to be in the child's life and made it abundantly clear while you're pregnant and even after the baby. Don't come after him. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's even before the father. That's even before that. I mean, like, you know, if you, regardless if you spend quality time or you spend a short amount of time, you know what type of person that you're getting with. Mm-hmm. So don't expect them to change just because you guys have a child, just because you guys.
Especially if this person has children with other women, whether it be one or two or whatever the case is. If this man already has children with someone else and he's not an adequate father for those kids, don't come for him thinking that you're going to change him. You're not going to change him. The only thing that's going to change him or make him want to be around those kids is him. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, it's all his responsibility.
You can't sit here and try to force something on someone that doesn't want anything. And two, you know what happened. Whether it was a one-night stand or whether it's friends with benefits, a relationship, whatever the case is, don't try to sit here and make it as if you did not play a part in it, because you did. That's not fair to him, and that's not fair to that child, because that child at the end of the day did not ask to be here. And for you to backlash on the father because he isn't what you thought he was going to be, but you trusted this man enough to lay with him in a bed and give him your body and to get you pregnant. So you had some level of trust with this man. So don't try to use him as a means to get out. You know, there are so many men who want to be there for their children and they can't because the mothers don't allow men to be there because you're petty because you're not in a relationship, or maybe you don't want to see him with another woman. Or maybe you just want to ruin his life because you feel like maybe he get what he deserves. So because you do that, especially you women that intentionally keep your children away from the fathers and you want to tell these kids a bunch of BS like your father doesn't want you, your father's no good, he doesn't care about you, and you're lying to these children. These kids are gonna grow up one day and some of them
resent the hell out of you.
And they're gonna resent their father because you're intentionally feeding these lies to this child. But eventually they're gonna want to get out there and they're gonna want to find out who their father is. They're gonna want to know why. And if their father, you better hope that child does not go out there and looking, because they will. If they find him, they're gonna ask him and he's gonna tell them the truth.
Yeah. So basically, for me, for an example, my mom and my father did not work out in their relationship and they went their separate ways. Mm-hmm. But in truth, never once did I ever hear her dog him. Mm-hmm. She never put him down because she was like, if you want to be in his life, that's your choice. I'm not going to stop you. I have nothing bad to say about him. That at the end of the day, it's still your father. Cool. Mm-hmm. I had made the decision not to speak to him anymore. I made that decision because like you know how like you watch and you pay attention to the actions that people do, and when you realize that they're not following through by their word.
Right.
By
that's different.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
so that's a whole different.
I can understand that if you as a woman, you are keeping your child away from the father because of legit reasons, which is that the father is probably abusive, or
he's, at the end of the day, it has to be something that he can actually cause harm onto the child.
Right.
And you, for the both of you, actually.
Right.
If there's nothing of that accord where he's not physically, emotionally, or psychologically abusing you, causing harm to you guys, then there's no reason why you can't let that father be a part of the child's life. If they're the type of person that can't seem to control themselves and whatever aspect that they got going on, to be honest, your children are going to learn about it regardless. So it's better to be upfront and forward with it than to lie. I mean, yes, there's a certain age that you want to touch on.
I've seen women who have children intentionally keep their child away from the father because they feel like because the father doesn't want anything to do with them, that they should keep that baby away from the father, and that's no way how to ever handle your personal issues. Whatever issues that you have with the father of the child, that's whatever issues you have. But just because you have a problem with him, that does not mean that that child has that problem with him. That child does not know the relationship, the status of your relationship. That child does not know the hardships that you've been through. That child does not know what happened between you guys to get to where you are. That child at the end of the day is innocent. You should never use your child as a pawn to get money from men. You should never use your child as a pawn to get money from the government. Yep. You should never use your child as a pawn to get back at him in general, just to make his life a living hell. Men who are fathers and are trying to get custody of their children, they deserve that right. And unfortunately, men in our country aren't seen as deemable to be parents. They feel like the mother should get the rights to the child, which that's not fair. I have three uncles who raised their children by themselves. Phenomenal jobs as fathers. Three of my uncles have kids by women, and they've been single fathers raising these kids, and they're still doing a phenomenal job raising their children by themselves, even as adults. You know, kids are like in their 20s now or so forth.
And we're not going to sit here and pretend like everybody's going to be perfect when they come out of this long time being raised by a single parent, which could be a father or a mother. There's going to be battle scars. There's no possible way out of that. But do not denounce one gender over another just because how we used to think back in the olden days. You can't have it both ways. You can't want equality and then be supreme over all beings. It's either one or the other.
Exactly. It's crazy because it's crazy because if a woman, as soon as she gives birth to the child, if the father is not there and he does not sign the birth certificate of that baby, that man could automatically be put on child support. Whether he could be or he could not be the father. And even if the woman, let's say the father is there for that child and he does sign the birth certificate for it, and let's say the mother probably isn't working or whatever the case is, the father of the child could still be put on child support, even if he is living in the same household, even if he is financially providing, he could still be put on child support just because the woman had a baby. Why can't men get that same thing? Why can't men end up getting child support from women? Why can't men end up getting, financial support from the government, getting food stamps or whatever the case it is that they need? Why is it that it's so forward for women to be able to get these things, but some of these women who get this assistance from the government and or help don't even need it, and they are just using it as a means to get by and not even really supplying for their kids. I seen a video of a man. He was going to court for custody of his kid, and he lost the custody battle, and he really wanted the custody of his child. And he stood outside the courtroom, and he just had loads and loads of like gifts for that baby, and like the mom just was like, no, I don't want to. And you could just tell that it wasn't even energy of like him actually doing anything to the mother. It was like her like legit just upset because she just didn't want him to be a part of that child's life.
Yep, because she was mad about her own personal issues that she had with him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even
and that's literally just what it is. I mean, and men, some of y'all are single parents with your children, and some of y'all do keep y'all kids away from the mothers too. But more so, it's never really on the men. It's more so always on the women.
We're just talking about majority.
Yes.
We're talking about women at this majority particular part, because it's funny to me how like they expect you to be all these things in one little ticket frame with this long piece of paper or list of a person, but they won't turn around, look at themselves and go like, well, I don't have any of these qualities, so why would I expect that from my significant other? Or the fact that, you know, like this is what I want my child to be, and this is how I want them to grow up. I don't want them to be like you.
I think the thing that really irritates me the most is when I hear women say, I wish I could choose my baby daddy. I wish I could choose the father of my child.
You did.
You just happened to get pregnant by the person that you may or may not have wanted to get pregnant by, but you still chose this person. You had sex with them.
The hypocrisy. But
you did choose them. It may not have been the way how you thought about it logically, but yes, you did choose this man.
The truth of the matter is, everybody has financial stability and know how to take care of themselves. So, and it's a little harder when you have children involved in that. And the issue that I have is, if we really want equality, then if the woman is the main breadwinner and the man is the stay-at-home guy, and he wants to stay home and take care of the child, and he wants to get child support for that, that should be fine with you, because, and vice versa, women get that all the time.
Exactly.
It takes for them to say is one thing, or not even one thing. They can just have a child by birth, and it's automatically, all I have to do is put somebody's name on the birth certificate, and they automatically become the father, in which they have to pay child support. Being the child's father or not, like you were saying earlier, that's the hypocrisy. If a woman can do that, then a man should be able to as well. And if you cannot accept that for what it is, you're not really here for equality. You want to be supreme over everybody else. And that's and the people like that, you're the freaking problem in the first place.
You want to know what's up? You don't want to know something?
What?
Get this. Let's say you did have a child, right? And you signed a birth certificate at the birth, and then you get a DNA test and you find out that the baby's not yours. But
that hurts.
But now, but this is worse. But this is worse though, because I've seen this.
So I've heard.
You sign a birth certificate because you think the baby's yours, and then you end up paying child support, and then you get the DNA test to prove that, and you find out that the baby's not yours. You still stuck on child support. You still gotta pay that child support.
Doesn't matter.
And on top of that, what's even worse is that men, whether you have to pay child support for a child that is yours or isn't yours, what's even more messed up is that men who are backed up in child support, they get their license like suspended for that. They can go to jail. Like, you can go to jail. There was a guy. There's a guy. I'm not even lying. And you guys can even look this up. There was a guy who paid child support. He was up on his child support and he overpaid it. And he ended up having to serve, I think it was like 3 months in jail because he overpaid the child support. And the whole reason why he was paying the child support was so he could avoid going to jail. But they ended up sentencing him to go to jail anyway because he overpaid the amount.
So then you just you just take the credit of how much he overpaid from the last month and then deduct it from the next month. Hello?
Yeah, but he had to serve time in jail because he overpaid the child support.
That is
and they said that he couldn't do that.
That's stupid.
That is crazy.
Why do why do people have to continuously do that to each other where they involve their children in the petty arguments? They try to control that person as much as possible. There's so many different ways that people don't think that fathers aren't equipped, but I'm just saying this from personal experience because I've been a babysitter. I don't know if I've been like a full-on role model. I have to talk to the people that, raised and helped, try to become the best man that they could possibly be, or just, child in general. But I've always looked at it as, like, what can I do to set you off in a path that, even if I don't fully agree with it, that you have an understanding, like cause and effect situations. Are you willing to take the responsibility for your action?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to respect your adults? Even if you don't agree with them on a lot of stuff, it's like, listen, you can sit here and talk to a wall all day. Doesn't mean it's going to get through to them. You just know what your limits are to when you're speaking to this person.
Mm-hmm.
I might not have taught them everything in the world that I possibly knew, but I taught them at least from an emotional standpoint. Like, hey, be yourself as much as possible. If your parents don't accept you for who you are, fuck them. You can come, kick it with me and I'll let you be yourself entirely. And I won't judge you because I have no right to, because I'm going through my own trials. And hopefully that, allow them to be the best adult they can be and love themselves as much as possible. There can be some hiccups along the way, but that's a normal thing when you're growing up in life. But you guys, that's pretty much the basis of what we think of part 2 for fathers having custody over their children, and the idea of thinking like, do you think that a father is set to raising their child? What are mistakes that you guys have made when agreeing to consensual sex and end up having a baby because of it? You guys make sure that you check out all forms of our social media, like, comment, and subscribe. Check out us out 8, and I basically talk about how to deal with your emotional baggages throughout your entire time, from spiritual Sundays to self-awareness Saturdays. You guys check those videos out.
Honestly, stop bagging men and making them think that they are not good enough to be parents by themselves.
Right.
Because, truth be told, you still have sex with this person. So if you didn't think that they were good enough to be a father, you would have never gave them the opportunity to be able to have sex with you to begin with. So stop bagging men on that. And just be kind to anyone, because you never know what anyone is going through.
That's
and
right.
It is your girl, Nevaeh. I am out.
Peace out, you guys. Have a good day.
Peace. Oh me.